Have you ever wondered why some men effortlessly attract high-value women while others, no matter how hard they try, get ignored, ghosted, or walked all over? It's not the car, it's not the bank account, and it's definitely not how many times you text her good morning. It's something deeper, something rare. It's boundaries, but not just any boundaries. Today we're diving into 6 powerful, stoic boundaries that don't repel women, they pull high-value women in like a magnet. Before we begin, if you're ready to become the kind of man who doesn't chase validation but naturally attracts it, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Winners and hit the like button, because what you'll learn today can truly change your love life. And I'm not saying that lightly. These aren't pickup lines or gimmicks. They're battle-tested principles from the mind of one of the greatest emperors in history, Marcus Aurelius, woven into the way modern high-value women think and feel. So stay till the end, because the last boundary might just save you from a toxic relationship you didn't even see coming. There's a man named Ray, not flashy, not loud, not rich either. But when he walked into a room, people noticed. Women leaned in. Men respected him. There was a calm about him, an unshakable energy. Ray had something most men didn't. He knew where he ended and where others began. He had boundaries, not walls, not barbed wire, but firm, powerful boundaries grounded in self-respect. This video is his story, but it could also be yours, because the man who masters boundaries masters desire. 1. Boundary of emotional self-control. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that their words could lift your soul or destroy your day? That one message from her could make you feel alive. And her silence? Like drowning in slow motion? If you've felt that, you're not alone. We've all been there, even Ray. Let me tell you about the night that changed everything. Ray was in love, deeply, madly, with a woman named Lena. She was intoxicating, the kind of woman who made the room blur when she smiled. But she was unpredictable. One minute she'd hold Ray like he was her world. The next she'd push him away like he was nothing. And Ray, he wasn't weak. He was disciplined, grounded, calm. But even strong men have their breaking point. One night after Lena had gone cold for days, Ray got a text. "Maybe this isn't working. I think we need space." And just like that, his heart dropped. You know that feeling? That empty pit in your stomach, where the mind starts racing? What did I do wrong? Should I call her? Should I fix it before she walks away for good? That moment is where most men break, where we lose our frame, where we become emotional beggars, handing our dignity over for one more chance at closeness. But Ray, he did something different. He paused. He read the message again. Then he closed his phone, got up, and poured a glass of water. He sat by the window and whispered Marcus Aurelius's words to himself. "You have power over your mind, not outside events." In that silence, he made a choice. Not to react, not to chase, but to stay still, calm, present. Because he understood something most men never do. The moment you give her control over your emotions, you lose the attraction, not just hers, but your own power. Ray didn't text back that night. He didn't spiral. He journaled. He trained. He went to bed. And you know what happened? 3 days later, Lena texted again. "I miss you. I didn't mean it. I just wanted to see if you'd fight for me." Ray didn't ignore her, but he didn't rush either. He replied simply, "Love shouldn't be tested like that. Let's talk with honesty, not games." That right there was emotional self-control. Not bottling feelings, not being cold, but knowing when to act and when to remain unmoved. So I ask you, when was the last time you stayed calm when your heart was on fire? When was the last time you didn't chase but chose to breathe? High-value women aren't drawn to the man who reacts. They're drawn to the man who remains rooted, who doesn't let storms break him but lets them pass. Because in a world full of emotional chaos, stoic calm is magnetic. 2. Boundary of time and energy. How many hours have you spent waiting for a reply that never came? How many days have you set your schedule aside just hoping she'd show up, only to get a last-minute excuse? Time, it's the only thing you'll never get back. And yet we waste it the most, especially on people who don't value it. Ray learned this the hard way. Let me tell you about the night he decided to stop chasing people who didn't respect his time. Ray had planned a special evening. Dinner reservations. Her favorite wine, a place with a view of the city lights. It wasn't about impressing Lena, it was about presence, about making time together in a world full of distraction. But then, 25 minutes before dinner, Ray got the text. Hey, something came up. Rain check? No explanation, no apology. Just 3 words that dismissed an entire evening of thought. Effort and intention. Now, most men, they'd say no problem. Reschedule. Keep trying. Keep pouring time and energy into someone who treats it like a backup plan. But Ray wasn't most men. He looked at the message. He looked at the 2 empty glasses waiting on his kitchen counter. And then he made a decision. He didn't reply. Instead, he poured himself a drink, sat on his balcony, and watched the sunset alone at peace. Because that night wasn't wasted. He just spent it with someone who truly mattered, himself. The next day, Lena messaged again. I'm sorry. I should have respected your time more. You deserved better. Ray didn't gloat. He didn't punish. He simply replied, let's talk when it's mutual. My time isn't something I give lightly. That one response taught her more than 1,000 sweet texts ever could. Why? Because Ray's boundary wasn't about ego, it was about value. Time and energy are the currencies of a high-value man, and the more freely you give them away to people who haven't earned them, the more your worth silently diminishes in their eyes. Ask yourself, would you let someone casually withdraw money from your bank account every time they felt bored? Then why let them withdraw your attention, your plans, your energy? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. And giving your time to someone who doesn't respect it is not right. The man who guards his time becomes the man others pursue, because when your time becomes scarce and sacred, it becomes valuable. And what is valuable is always desired. So tell me, when was the last time you truly valued your own time? For a boundary of self-worth, no begging for love. Have you ever found yourself begging for love that once came freely? Have you ever felt that deep ache in your chest? The one that says, maybe if I try harder, she'll love me again. Ray had. Even the strongest men do, once. It was the winter when Lena started to drift. Not physically, she still showed up. But emotionally, she was somewhere else. Her eyes didn't linger. Her laugh was quieter. She stopped asking how his day was. She stopped leaning in. Most men would have done what the world teaches us to do. Buy flowers, text more, make grand apologies for things we didn't even do. But Ray knew better. He felt the shift, of course. He loved her. This wasn't easy. But instead of chasing her down or begging for breadcrumbs, he leaned back. One evening, Lena looked at him and said the words so many men fear. I just don't feel the same anymore. Ray took a breath. His chest burned, but his mind was calm. He didn't plead. He didn't say, what can I do to fix it? He didn't fall to pieces. Instead, he stood tall and replied, if your heart is no longer here, I won't try to convince it. She was stunned. Not because he was cold, but because he was whole. Ray had learned the most powerful truth of all. Love should never be earned through self-abandonment. Real love is given, freely, without demand, without deals. And if someone pulls it away, you don't fight for them to return. You stand still and let them walk. Because begging for love doesn't bring it back. It only trains them to see you as someone who needs them more than himself. Marcus Aurelius once said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Ray lived that. He didn't try to prove his worth, he simply was worthy. He respected himself so deeply, he knew that love should never come at the cost of dignity. And the irony, Lena came back. Weeks later, she called him crying. No one's ever walked away from me without anger or need. You made me question everything? Ray wasn't waiting. He'd moved on, not out of spite, but out of self-worth. Ask yourself, when did you last choose yourself? Even when your heart begged you not to? Have you ever looked someone in the eye and said, if you don't want to love me, that's okay. I will never force it. That moment isn't weakness, it's power. Because the man who never begs for love becomes the one they remember when it's gone. So next time someone makes you feel like love must be earned, let them go, and let your worth do the speaking. 4. Boundary of words and silence. Have you ever said something in anger that you regretted the moment it left your mouth? Or maybe you've stayed in an argument far too long, thinking your words might fix something that was already broken. We've all been there. So had Ray. But there was one night, one sentence that changed everything. It was late. Ray and Lena were arguing. The tension had been building for days. She accused him of being emotionally unavailable, something she'd picked up from a podcast or a friend. But Ray was far from distant. He just didn't perform his emotions like theater. He showed love through consistency, not chaos. But in her frustration, Lena said it. The sentence that cut deep. Maybe that's why your ex left. You don't know how to love anyone. The room went silent. That kind of silence that thickens the air. You know the type. Where time slows and your ears ring. Now, any other man would have snapped, defended himself, raised his voice. Maybe thrown something, not violently, but in pain. But Ray didn't say a word. He didn't shout, argue, or plead. He just looked at her with a calm she didn't expect, and softly said, I don't speak with people who weaponize my pain. Then he got up and left. No door slam, no dramatic exit, just pure calm silence. That silence was louder than any scream, because silence, when used with discipline, not as a tool to punish, but to protect, is one of the most powerful boundaries a man can hold. Marcus Aurelius once said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Ray lived this. He didn't lower himself to the level of the insult. He didn't trade pain for pain. He chose stillness over noise, dignity over dominance. And do you know what happened? 2 days later, Lena came to him in tears. I'm sorry. I was hurt and I wanted to hurt you. But your silence, it made me see myself. That's the thing about silence. It holds up a mirror. And in the space where most people expect chaos, it forces them to confront their own behavior. Ask yourself, when was the last time you chose silence instead of fighting? When did you last walk away not to win but to keep your peace? Because the man who knows when to speak and when to remain silent is the man no one can control. Words can be weapons, but silence? Silence is mastery. So next time someone tries to drag you into a war of emotions, don't pick up the sword. Pick up your peace. Let your silence say everything that your words never could. 5. Boundary of vision and purpose. Have you ever lost yourself in someone so deeply that you forgot the man you were becoming? Before you met her, you skipped workouts, postponed your goals, rearranged your life to orbit hers, hoping she'd notice, hoping she'd stay. Ray had done that once, but not with Lena. This time he knew better. When Ray met Lena, he was on a mission. He was building his business, training daily, waking up at 5 a.m. to read Marcus Aurelius, to journal, to sharpen his mind. He had a routine, a rhythm, a vision that gave him clarity and momentum. Lena admired that at first. She'd say, I love how driven you are. It's sexy. But as feelings deepened, her expectations started shifting. She wanted longer phone calls, more weekends away. She wanted him to slow down, to be more spontaneous, to live in the moment. One Saturday, she said, why do you always have to train in the morning? Can't you skip it for me? It wasn't a toxic demand. It was a soft test. The kind many women give, not maliciously but subconsciously, to see if you'll give up your path for her presence. And most men would have said yes. But Ray looked her in the eye and said, I love spending time with you, but my mission existed before we met. It keeps me grounded. It's not something I can abandon even for love. She was silent. At first a little hurt. But over time, something shifted. She didn't try to pull him from his purpose anymore. She started supporting it, asking about his progress, cheering for his wins, because she realized he wasn't choosing his goals over her. He was choosing to be the kind of man she first fell for. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, he who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. And harmony doesn't come from sacrificing your soul to please someone else. It comes from walking your path, even when love calls you to detour. You see, the man who gives up his purpose to please a woman may keep her for a while, but she will eventually lose respect for the man who abandoned himself. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you chose your vision over comfort? When did you wake up and say, this is what I was born to build, regardless of who stays or goes? Because women don't truly fall in love with the man who makes them his world. They fall for the man who already had a world and simply invited them into it. Your mission grounds you, your purpose defines you, and if she's truly the right one, she'll respect it, or she'll remove herself from the path. Either way, you stay the course. 6. Boundary of detachment from outcome. Let me ask you a question you may have never asked yourself. Can you love someone without needing them? Not in a cold, distant way, but in a way that honors their presence without clinging to it? Because the moment you need her to stay, You've already started losing her. Ray understood this eventually. In the early months with Lena, there was passion, laughter, fire, but with it came fear. Fear of losing her, fear of her changing, fear that maybe, just maybe, this beautiful chaotic thing wasn't going to last. But the more tightly he tried to hold it together, the more it slipped through his fingers. He started anticipating her moods, reading too deeply into short texts, thinking, what if she's pulling away? What if she finds someone better? And in that fear, he began shrinking, not in stature but in presence. Then one night, Lena said something that hit him in the gut. It feels like you're afraid of losing me all the time. That pressure makes me feel like I'm being suffocated. That's when Ray knew. He had crossed the line from love into attachment. That night he didn't cry or beg. He didn't write a long message explaining himself. He picked up Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, flipped through the pages and landed on this line: receive without pride, let go without attachment. And in that moment everything changed. Ray realized, love doesn't have to mean holding on. It means showing up fully with peace, not possession. So he set a new boundary. He would love deeply, but never cling. He would show up, care, be present. But if the connection faded, if the path changed, if she walked away, he would not fight to keep what was no longer aligned. And the most incredible thing happened. When he stopped attaching to the outcome, he became magnetic again, because he was no longer trying to keep her. He was just being himself. No pressure, no fear, no games. And Lena, she stayed, more freely, more lovingly, more authentically, because she wasn't being held. She was being invited every day to choose him. And that freedom made her want him more. Ask yourself, can you let someone go and still love them? Can you stop gripping so hard and trust that what's meant for you will stay, not because you grabbed it, but because you attracted it? Marcus Aurelius didn't preach detachment to become emotionless. He preached it to become unbreakable. The man who is not attached to outcomes cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken by rejection, cannot be destroyed by change. Because he knows he is complete with or without her. Let's recap the 6 boundaries that made Ray the man every high-value woman couldn't ignore. 1. Emotional self-control. He didn't react. He responded. 2. Respect for time. He never tolerated flakiness. No begging for love. If she pulled away, he didn't chase. 4. Power of silence. He walked away from disrespect. Force vision first. His mission always came before comfort. 6. Detachment from outcome. He never clung. He let things be. These boundaries weren't walls, they were filters. They didn't keep people out. They just let the wrong ones leave. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." That source is boundaries. It's the voice inside that says, I am enough even if she doesn't see it. I walk away not out of ego but out of self-love. I don't need to win her because I've already won myself. You want to attract a high-value woman? Then become the kind of man who doesn't abandon himself to keep her. Because in the end, boundaries don't push love away. They protect it. If this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Winners and hit like, not for vanity, but so we can spread this timeless wisdom to more men like you. And remember, every time you hold a boundary, you tell the world, I am not here to be chosen. I am here to choose. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.